Okay, let's see here. So, when we last left our Victorian heroes, they you're up to the sort of second floor of uh, of the sort of private quarters that had that you're guessing was probably for probably the elder Davenport, the Benedict Davenport, his private office. Um, there, I can't remember. Did you defeat the golem and the dragon skull at this point, or did you?
You're like a
Is
little
any-
underwater, and I'm having a difficult
Yeah,
time.
okay, it's not just me. Yeah, Lawrence, you.
Oh yeah, I was okay.
Yeah.
Let me reconnect here. 1 second.
Oh, thanks.
I never know if technical difficulties come from the fact that I'm on Xbox using shitty software, or someone else's on someone else's
It's a
end.
miracle that we get this to work. So, Lawrence, you were saying you were wanting to know if we defeated
We beat the skull.
The golem and the dragon skull.
and the golem. Yeah, we
Yes.
just finished that, and then the bits of the golem rained down upon us and knocked Dirk out again. And then
Okay.
somebody brought him back up with 6 points. So I think we've used up a ton of potions and most of our HP, but we did in fact take both of them down.
Okay,
Oh
so-
right, I remember exactly what happened. We like found I think you said his name was Benedict sleeping. We basically executed him before he had a chance to even wake up. And then we found a sword that I have confirmed with Clancy that he's at least interested in.
Okay.
Because I know he's extremely busy
And then
right now.
we fought that thing that was the composed of all the corpses that got burned up.
Oh yeah!
Pushed it through Lady Emma's wall of sand. Was that right?
And then it tried climbing up the the escape hole, and they were just like, the paladins
So
will
the
deal with it.
elder god and the corpse thing is up there somewhere, and we took out the golem and the dragon skull and the vampire.
And
I'm
I nearly
chewing on a
killed
bit of its horn.
and my mirror self nearly killed the party.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our mirrors were throwing fireballs at us.
That wasn't pleasant. And I think that's where
We
we left
saw
off,
hell
like,
too.
everyone was like toasty from like getting fireballed.
We
And
saw the
like,
gateway to hell with that wand of
oh
sand.
yeah.
Basically, after the red golem and the dragon skull, everyone was really badly beat up. You decided to retreat back, essentially, to the. You decided to retreat back to the sitting room that you started in to basically try to rest. That at that point, you basically the spirits of the dead all formed into a giant tomb golem, essentially in the summoning room, and then you waited out until it basically went and messed with somebody else, and then and then I believe that was where, and geez, I'm trying to remember essentially because. The entrance to the part that doesn't jive for me is the entrance to the mirror maze is actually in the office. So I'm trying to figure out how that got fed in there somehow.
Well, the last thing
We
we
never
did
went
was
to a
the
mirror
golem and the
maze.
dragon skull.
Like in Benedict's room was a mirror, a golem, the dragon skull, and his like unburnable coffin.
No,
and
that
then
was a different room.
Was it?
The mirror was in his like sleeping thing, so there was the bed, and we found like a statue that we moved, and it caused the bed to open up, and we could see the coffin, and the mirror was in there. But then we went somewhere else. I want to say it was an office or something. We went somewhere else, and that's where the golem and the dragon's head were because we had not seen those before.
I don't think that's right, but it's close enough, I think.
All right, so let's look at the map here and let's try to figure out where we were. All right, so this is spot over here, essentially, that is the office, and this is Kevin Davenport's bedroom. You basically eventually found his hiding hole and basically killed him. So, and then you went upstairs, essentially, to this office.
Right.
Fought the golem, fought the dragon skull. There is a mirror in this room, essentially, that leads to the mirror maze you were just describing, essentially.
I thought we shattered it though, so that the
Well, we covered it because Lady Emma's doppelganger like set fire
you're about to
to the
fireball
room.
us.
Yeah.
We ended
Okay.
up in an office, and one corner had a large book open at a random page. There on the left wall was a portrait of Benedict. On the south was a statue of Benedict, and then on the right a huge dragon skull on a plinth. So we were in the
Okay, so let's just
office.
assume we're in this room and you have defeated the red golem and the dragon skull at this point, and then let's start from there because I'm confused as to where we exactly ended up last
No,
season.
that was it because I just checked my notes, so that's for
Okay.
sure it.
So you just defeated the animated dragon skull and the red golem, essentially, in this room. Benedict's portrait continues to stare down at you haughtily from its position to the wall to your left, and a large open book sits open to. It looks like a large eldritch tome. It definitely does not look like basically a piece of reading material. Let's put it this way. It's definitely a mystic book of some sort. Numerous papers are scattered all over Benedict's desk. There's a large high-back chair, wreathed in purple leather and with a big skull, sort of like sitting at the top, like a supervillain's chair. And then there's a similar sort of like guest chair, wrapped in purple leather, basically sitting directly across from it. A simple square rug of deep plush, red velvety carpet essentially sits in the center of the room. Okay, and other than that, there is again another sort of mirror directly off to your right that you still find weird since you all are pretty sure vampires don't cast reflections. So why do all these vampires have mirrors in their rooms? And the first one obviously was a trap as a mirror of opposition that will summon up a evil version of yourself from the mirror universe. But this one looks like a more traditional mirror. You can see your reflection in it.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I
Yeah, I can't
Yeah,
hear
Lawrence
you.
is still underwater.
All right, let me reconnect 1 second.
Okay, thanks.
Maybe reboot your router or something.
And I think we need to do something about that portrait because remember the other portrait that
Oh
was
yeah,
scrying on us?
rule of thumb: deface any and all portraits we come
The
across.
portraits and mirrors gotta go.
All right, who just sneezed?
I didn't hear anybody sneeze.
Oh, it sounded like someone sneezed.
I'm mashing my controller, but I don't think that would sound like a sneeze.
I may be hearing things, or I may have heard someone in the background. There, I'm not sure.
My dog may have done something in the background. He's prone to that.
Dog wakes itself with sound of its own farts.
No. I don't think he hears himself very well because he's 14 and kind of deaf.
Oh, he's an old booker.
I understand. My dog is 18.
Mm.
She has dementia and virtually none of her senses or her teeth, so she's living in kind of a black hole of confusion.
How does a dog have dementia?
Well, how would
ask her?
You're 18.
Yeah.
If you were 110, you know.
Yeah.
I do Rover, so I babysit dogs, and I had one that was deaf and blind. And she was like
navigate
she was
by
17
smell.
or something, and she would come, and I would bring her like dirty socks. I would bring her things that were smelly, and she loved it. She was like, you know, it was like she was so excited.
That's our only way to see now. But also, like, even my dog, you know, I've shown you Kona. Kona can obviously see, but she, like, her main thing on walks is smell.
Yeah, my dog can't. She's completely deaf. She's almost completely blind. She doesn't have any teeth, and she has enough smell to be able to eat, but she just sort of wanders around in circles. You know what? She eats dry food. I don't know how that works, but
she just sort of gums it to death.
Yeah, pretty much.
I get dry food, and then Vanilla had 13 teeth out last year, so he's got like half of his teeth. And I just get dry food and run a little water on it and let it sit for a minute. But
you know, if you wanna treat them, you can use tomato paste.
Ooh.
At least my dog did.
Okay, let's see if Lawrence sounds better.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
yeah.
That's much better.
Yes.
So far, so good, yeah.
So far, so good.
All right, let me go back screen share.
So I think you told us that there was a book that looked like an eldritch tome, and there were papers all over the desk, and there was a big supervillain chair and a guest chair that were purple, a plush red carpet, and on the right, something about a mirror. Is that?
That's correct. So directly to your right as you enter the room, there's a mirror on the wall, and directly to your left is Benedict Davenport's portrait.
So you didn't hear us say this, but we wanted to establish like rule of thumb: see a portrait, deface it immediately.
Okay,
Deface
so
it, cover it, break it.
the portrait, and in the wall behind the portrait, you can see a safe embedded into the wall.
Oh boy. Who remembers what happened last time with the last safe we tried?
That sounds very, very icy cold.
Yeah.
So forgive me for being paranoid, but I believe it's justified.
Okay, so do we want to like take everybody back out to the threshold and have Mei Chan go and tinker with the portrait? I mean, with the safe a little bit.
Well, first things
let's
first.
let's do the portrait in the mirror first, right?
Well, the safe was behind the portrait.
Okay, so you have detect magic up, which I'm just going to assume you do at this point, because there's nothing necessarily that immediately assaults you within the next 10 minutes. Okay, the magic is that the mirror is magical. The safe has some magic enchantment on it, and just like it's powerful evocation. So you're pretty much assured that this has a trap on it. The book is likewise magical. It has a powerful enchantment charm magic on it. The mirror, not so much. It's probably about a medium level enchantment. So, like an uncommon level of magic item, you're guessing, given the glow. The skull, the bits of the skull and the golem still glow with sort of like slight magical residue because they were enchanted, basically, constructs. In fact, like filtering through the chunks of the red golem at this point, you eventually find its core, which is cracked, but still looks like a valuable bit of gem. And the dragon skull itself, the skull is definitely shattered, but the horns still seem to be in relatively good condition. So if you want a set of dragon horns from an adult dragon, you can certainly have those.
What about
Oh yeah,
teeth?
I've absolutely taken those.
Should we take the teeth?
You can certainly take some teeth. Look, a lot of them are bits at this point after it was destroyed. But yes, you can have a selection of teeth if you like.
Yes. Teeth sound like fun.
Okay, so the desk itself is one of these foam drawers on either side of theirs. There isn't a central drawer, so there's like a set of like drawers on either side, 4 of them each. The high back chair has no magical aura about it, and nor does the guest seat, nor does the rug. Though you're generally of the opinion you should just generally pull up rugs because people tend to hide stuff under them.
Yeah, I was immediately about to say check under the rug, especially if it's
Maybe
not
so
magic.
pull the
you
rug
set
up
the
and
chair.
throw it over the mirror.
Okay, so that's fine. You take the rug. The mirror is nowhere near mounted sturdily enough to basically hold up the rug. Let's put it that way. You could probably throw like a blanket over it or tape, but like it's never going to hold up this like several hundred pounds of rug. So
Oh, okay.
That's a big fucking rug to be several hundred pounds.
no, I'm saying it's effectively like 16 by 16, and it's like a heavy brocade. So it's like this thing weighs a lot. So
Yeah, that's a big rug.
you know. Okay, you basically roll up the rug and underneath it, trapdoor.
You're getting all fuzzy again.
It might be
Yeah,
your mic quality at this
hear you.
point.
Well,
How's everybody doing?
so I think we want to investigate the trapdoor and the safe, but first, let's do the portrait. Because we took the portrait and we moved it. Did we cover it up or break it or do something to it? And then I
The
think
portrait
I would
I
always
destroyed.
try to break it.
Okay, so North Ball, Fern, were you Tree's friend that was going to join us this evening?
Tree's friend unfortunately got sick, and so Ryan believes that I have a curse that all of my friends that I bring get sick.
Okay,
Sorry
How are you
about
guys
that.
doing?
we're doing all right. So, all right, if you'd like to play this evening, feel free to play. I think what are we? Are we 6th or 5th or 6th character?
Well, we
Fifth.
were 5th, but if you wanted to make a 6th, I would do that.
At the end of this dungeon, you are sixth. So this is pretty much, we're trailing on to the end of this thing at this point. So at the end of this session, everybody will be sixth to be sure. So,
Yay.
Awesome.
all right. So, all right. So, North Welfare, if you'd like to play, just spin together a 5th level character, probably using fastcharacter.com or D&D Beyond, and you can join us. If you'd like to observe, feel free to observe.
Yes.
Okay, so you got the rug pulled aside. There's a trap door underneath there. So you haven't opened up the desk. No one's sat in any of the chairs. So you haven't messed with the magic tome. There's a safe. So those are the things you've got so far.
I think we want
How
to do the
big-
mirror.
Okay, so the mirror is mildly magical. See here, it has some sort of divination magic on it, as far as you could tell from looking at it with detect magic.
Can someone please stream this so I could watch it?
We don't have any streaming per se. Essentially, we're just doing this over voice. So,
Oh, okay, never mind.
okay.
I'm just worried that they're scrying on us. Can we turn it around?
Sure, you can basically it just hung on the wall with a nail, so you can unhook it from the wall and face it towards the wall if you like.
Yeah, I think that sounds fine.
Yeah,
Okay,
Mack
so
will do
it's
that.
like a 3x2 mirror essentially. So it's not like a vanity mirror you might have in your in hallway or in your bedroom. All right, so you unhook the mirror, you face it towards the wall in case someone's scrying on you through it. You've already destroyed Benedict Davenport's portrait and saw that there's a safe behind the portrait. Now what are you doing?
How big is the safe, and is it like stuck in the
Safe
wall?
is maybe it's not super large. It's maybe about 2x2 as far as the door is concerned. So enough to put like some valuables and documents in, not to hold a large treasure.
Did you say
I
the
gotta
desk
go,
had
guys.
some
I'll
magic?
talk to you guys later.
Oh. Okay. Have fun.
Have fun, guys.
All right, take care.
Did you say there was some magic on the desk?
There is no magic on the desk.
Okay. I'm thinking that since there's papers on the desk and drawers on the desk, maybe we should explore that first in case something about the safe or the trapdoor blows up everything in the room and then we don't have clues anymore. What do you think?
Yeah, I would
Fair
agree
enough.
with
The
that.
same could be said for pretty much anything else, though. We don't know what is trapped in here.
Yeah, I think we should turn the room over before we open safes or trapdoors.
It's trapped. You can already see trace areas and magic runes all over it. Under detect magic that don't show up like naked eye. And the desk might have a mechanical trap on it, but it doesn't have a magical trap as far as you can tell.
And there's papers just laying on top. So
Yes, there are.
can we investigate like the papers?
Okay, if someone has the papers on top, someone roll an investigation check.
Well, that wasn't very helpful.
Alright, well, you just the obvious. A lot of them are financial papers or trade work essentially with the Lamplighters Guild, and there's numerous basically transactions that are obviously marked for the Lamplighter Guild and individual people.
Mack
There
got a
are
16.
essentially what else? There are other documentation essentially you don't quite recognize exactly what they are. They're a little obtuse. It's definitely in a code of some sort, but it looks like some sort of like movement of goods or people between warehouses, and they're just simply labeled by code name, essentially like warehouse A, B, C, D, E, F. So essentially, there's.
Yep, Mack
Lady
got
Emerald,
Go ahead.
Lady Emerald, 20.
That's better than what I
There
got.
you go.
Able to reference some documentation on the desk and able to figure out the exact locations of these warehouses are relatively close to a number of like where some people went missing. So you're going based on the descriptions and basically like in and out of like goods. You quickly realizes that this transaction ledger basically describes their sacrifices, the people they picked up off the street. and sacrifice to the elder god in the basement, sort of deal.
Okay.
I think we need to take these to the police and the Paladin lady.
Paladin lady couldn't make it tonight.
Well, she was healing up her Paladin people that got in that big fight.
Yes.
Half of them were enchanted by the mirror, right? And we thought they were going to turn on us.
Right.
They got enchanted because one of the picture frames was enchanting people. You got enchanted, but I was able to fix you.
Yeah, thank goodness she fixed me. I didn't want to turn on you guys. Lawrence was going to
Yet.
make me do it. I was going to fail a wisdom save, and then there I was going to be. So, yeah, I think we should take these back to her and the police. And then let's work on the desk drawers. You said there were 4 drawers on each side?
Yes.
4 drawers and 7 stairs ago. I'm sorry, that literally just popped into my head and it just came out.
Are any of them locked?
Let's see here. The top 2 drawers are locked. The rest are not.
So,
All right, Lady Emma's gonna explore the unlocked drawers.
All right. There's a lot. Like the bottom drawers, like have extra like paper and writing implements here. The drawers above them essentially have some sort of like index card filing system where there's just sorts of little index cards, probably like a Rolodex of like coded contacts. You're guessing this is probably the guild registry essentially, or the cult registry of the people that are involved in the cult. But no actual names are given here. It's like some code names and code locations. It's not immediately obvious basically what the relationship is. You'd have to cross-reference it with some like name registries and some other piece of information in order to figure out maybe some of the stuff on top of the desk might help you out. But it's not something that's going to happen within the next 10 minutes. Let's put that.
well, let's go ahead and take that too.
The very back of the third drawers up. These drawers have one of them has a pistol, and then the other and ammunition for that pistol, and then the other drawer has a whole bunch of like weird knickknacks. So it looks like a monkey's paw. It's like a brass paperweight and a little crystal globe, and just a whole bunch of little trinkets essentially that you might find in a curio shop. A little porcelain doll.
Does anything come up as magical?
None of that stuff appears to be magical. I guess you could say the pistol appears to be magical. We're in a magic tech society, so probably gunpowder is semi-magical. So
does anybody want the pistol?
Lady Emma would like the pistol.
okay, so you have effectively a cap and ball style pistol essentially. So reloading it in combat is out of the question, but essentially it does have 6 shots.
Should we take the tome to look at later?
All right, Lady Emma, roll me a d20. Fire's better. We're going to find out whether you actually sat in Davenport's my back evil person chair. While you were looking through the doors.
Ooh.
Like, did you just by instinct sit in it, or did you make a point not to?
Okay. So, all right. So, Lady Emma finally sat back down in the chair, essentially, while she was looking through the doors. I need a wisdom save.
Wisdom save.
Wisdom.
Alright. 23!
Okay.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Right. You're sitting in the chair, let's say you kind of like, it's, for such a plush-looking chair, it's like tremendously uncomfortable and lumpy. It's like, and you feel like someone's just like looking over your shoulder the whole time and sort of turn around. You see the blank eyes of a skull looking back at you, and then go back to what you're doing. And then something like quickly and looking over your shoulder again. It's like you eventually just sort of like slowly back and basically shove the chair into a corner and basically just crouch next to the desk. But you're just like, there's something wrong about that chair. I don't think anybody should sit on that chair.
Okay. Yeah,
Your
the chair's
mic
been
is
bad.
going
Let's
again.
put it in the corner. Dirk would like to try and open up those other two drawers.
Okay, so I need a perception check or investigation check to check for traps because this is probably a good idea because almost everything else has been dropped around here.
Okay. Well, that's a nat 1, so I get to re-roll that.
Okay.
Thank you, lucky halfling. Well, that's not much better. Okay, that's a 9.
Okay. All right. Looks okay to you. So you begin to work on the trap. I need what is it? I need dex saves from everybody as the desk explodes violently, like leveling everything in the room with shrapnel.
Can I see? Is this something I can see?
Sure, you're gonna get advantage on this.
16.
17.
Okay.
18.
I'm gonna use my last.
21.
Okay, so DC is 18, full damage is 30, half damage is 15.
And I rolled another nat 1, so I'm gonna roll that again. That is a 21. Oh my god.
So
Okay.
what's the
I think more
DC?
damage from
A
traps.
tremendously powerful explosion as the disc basically instantly converts into like lots of pieces of shrapnel that flies across the room. Everybody gets slammed against the walls as various people are diving for cover. There's this flash of like brilliant light and a concussive force as all of you are basically seeing double for a few seconds.
And what was half damage?
The carpet's on fire. The chair, high-back chair is on fire.
Okay, if half
The
damage
desk
was
is no more.
15, Dirk's
No.
down again.
Yeah, half damage. Good boy.
Half
Oh,
damage
boy.
was
Okay.
15.
The magic tome in the corner. You can see like these streaks of paper flying around in the air, and like everything in the room, basically all the walls, the ceiling, the floor, basically has little bits of shrapnel embedded in it, just like you guys.
Ugh, Dirk. Dirk's hurt again.
Dirk
I
can't hear
will
you.
healing light Dirk.
I got her. Cure wounds level 1. You get resurrected with 10 points of a
Thank you.
health. Hit points.
That is fabulous.
If you have a health potion, you may want to swig it right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I
Right.
have one left. Apply changes. That's what I want.
People with potion vials on them, essentially.
So,
See, roll AD 20. Fragile stuff basically has probably been shattered by this explosion.
okay, you want me to roll a d20?
Everybody should roll a d20.
Okay.
Alright.
Well, I don't think I have anything fragile on me. I didn't even get any
Ooh.
potions.
I got a 6. Mine's broken.
I got a 6 too.
It's
Nat 20.
a potion as basically it's basically one of the potion vials in your pack has like shattered under the impact of either from being tossed back or just the explosion, the concussive force of the explosion itself.
Would that have
Right.
broken
Alright,
inside
I don't-
my bag of holding though?
Probably not. So we'll say no.
Thank goodness. So I'm going
Alright.
to do that. Is that 1d8 plus 2?
If you insist your potions are in a bag of holding, they are not available during the combat. Because there is no shuffling around with a bag of holding in the middle of combat. So keep that in
Yeah,
mind.
I don't have any potions right now,
Okay.
so
All right, so like if you had vials of collected stuff like holy water, which I think everybody had,
Okay.
it's very likely some of that stuff is broken in almost everybody.
alright, we'll get rid of the holy water.
Okay.
Alright.
All right, so everybody's picking their ass up off the floor, and it's like there's some of you. It's like almost everybody is like has one eardrum burst. You're sort of wiping like splinters and dust off your face, and picking like sharp bits of wood basically out of your flesh, and like, oh. the room essentially is like a complete mess. It's like the wallpaper is destroyed. There's a little bits of fire like clinging to everything. The ceiling is likewise like scattered with buckshot. The desk is no more. The magic book in the corner is no more. The only thing that basically seems to be like wholly intact in the room is probably the safe.
So you're saying it looks like all the other rooms we've been in this place?
Yes.
So guys,
Well, since that was a disaster, perhaps we should approach the safe a little more carefully.
I could go for that, sure. I was thinking for the safe, it's got powerful magic about it, that maybe we should get outside of the room and I should go after that with Mage Hand.
I don't know how you're gonna crack the safe from 30 feet away.
That shit safe crack it with Mage Hand because you're not that type of rogue. So you can basically wiggle the handle or something along those lines and turn the dial if that's.
Okay. Well, I don't think Dirk needs to be messing with the safe at 10 points. Hit points, honestly.
Lady M is only at 9 hit points, so she's
The
not
beefy
gonna touch it
barbarian
either.
is also only at 9.
I got 16. Should I try?
Well, given the average damage of like the deadly traps in here is like probably 30 or 40 points, that is probably not a great idea.
If somebody wants to go fiddle with it, I think the rest of us need to go outside and have a spell ready to bring them back up again when they go down.
No, I'm saying
Brilliant.
this could actually kill you at this low level of hit points, right? So
Okay.
that can take you all the way to the point where you are dead if you fail your save. So
So maybe we should leave this and go back and check in with Paladin Lady and get healed up a little bit with all of those clerics, and then come back in for another go with this. And she may have something that would work to try and open it. What do you think?
Brilliant.
Sounds like a better idea than I would have had.
all right, so you retreat back at this point, head up the main shaft that the greater abomination had climbed up earlier. There's new ropes that have been thrown down at this point, and you find in this sort of like central summoning room, there's a cadre of paladins like ready there to greet you. It's like the mistress of battle, is not there with them. It's like, well, you look like you've got the bit end of a cannon to the face. It's like, here, come, let's give you a medical attention. Everybody heals up 15.
Yay!
All right.
Did we see a giant pile of burning flesh at the bottom of the hole?
Well, we got a little surprised by the giant undead abomination falling out of the hole, but nothing that the good cadre of paladins can take care of, as they sort of open their chest.
Okay, so
Right.
they took care of the abomination then.
So, you finish your exploration at this point, or is there anything left essentially to dig out of this cultist lair?
It's part lair, part mansion. I believe the Davenports have direct access into here.
And they've
Well, there's the same magical portals that you brought in, and we took away at the length of the north here, so the magic is already dissipated at this point, but they could have gone anywhere from the magical circle.
it might be worth checking the dance hall that we found across town. There's a safe down there that was locked magically, and we didn't think it was safe for us to mess with it in our condition. And we also found some papers that appear to be coded. If you have anyone who might be able to work out what the code is, it looks like it might be able to tell us about the membership of the cult.
Okay, so someone make the D20 to see if you guys preserve the papers offhand by stuffing them into packs or something, or if they ended up still on the desk when it exploded.
Dirk
All of us?
took the Rolodex and put it in the bag of holding.
Yes.
I don't know if the papers on the top.
The desk survived. They were kind of awkward to grab, so this is why I'm just going to have you roll.
Okay. Do you want me to roll? Or do you want...
Yes, go ahead and roll.
You know how much I love to
Yes,
roll
it has to be
D20s for
you this time.
I love it when you make me roll D20s. And that's a 2.
Okay, so the papers
Oh.
on the desk are no more. They were definitely on the table, on the desk when it did. when it detonated. So, but you do have the Rolodex information. So, given some time and basically maybe a public, sort of like public birth registry or like some address book, you might be able to correlate it with something else. Find out some of the other cult members that belong to the Order of Hermes.
And then there were some things like mirrors down there that looked like they had some magic on them, and we turned them around, but they weren't destroyed. So you may be able to safely tell better what's going on with those too. Maybe you can use those as a tool to scry back on them.
Well, we have some clerics with us this time. So they sort of point to two robed acolytes in the corner there that were help healing you. They must be able to basically dispel a magical trap or two, but only one or two. So let's go ahead and head up to this office that you were talking about earlier. As this sort of young, chipper-looking paladin, essentially. Tally ho! It's like, as the rest of you in the back of your mind is going, you're totally going to die. All right, so you take this paladin and 3 paladins and 2 clerics up to the office.
Can we say we got some more healing potions from the paladins while we were there? And some holy water?
Sorry, unfortunately, we have no extra supplies at this point. We had to use a lot of those, our field supplies, essentially, after we fought the abomination. So, these acolytes are about all we have left as far as spellcasting capability left at this point before we're going to have to retreat back to the sanctuary and stuff. So, all right, so you arrive in the office again. It's like so. I take it that's a dead vampire in that coffin over there.
As dead it can be. We made it deader.
So which of the Davenports is that?
I believe that's Kevin.
Yeah, the
Kevin.
younger
All right,
one
so
with the auburn hair.
The chipper paladin sort of takes a note on a piece of paper. Okay, Kevin Davenport dead. All right, handy. All right, you arrive in the top office, Benedict Davenport's office. There's to the there's a little whistle from the tenant paladin. He's like, "Wow, it's like, surprised you survived this."
We were
So,
too.
okay, so that's safe over there, right? Acolytes, to it. You're show us the grace of the one God. As they both of them basically pull out their crucifixes, take a knee, and pray to the one God. There's bright flashes of like blue and white magus that sort of crackle across the surface of the safe as Dirk is looking at it intently with detect magic. It's like, all right, the magic's gone. Now, whether this is also booby trapped with an explosive, that's a good question. I will look into that immediately, since Dirk is carefully examining the safe.
You know, this would probably be a really good spot for locate object of gunpowder.
All right, so I need a new investigation or perception check for Dirk.
All right, we'll do an investigation.
Do you want me to aid you?
And that is a 14.
Am I aiding her?
If you got bardic inspiration, I would use it.
Okay, I have
I am
inspiration?
going to give you a bardic inspiration. I start singing.
Let's see, so that's 1d6.
All right, Krishana sings several refrains of "Don't Blow Us Up."
Oh, so that's a 6.
All right, very good. All right, so you're fine. You notice a very fine, basically, like trick button as you basically use a basically thin metallic probe around the edge. Okay, there's a button here. I'll have to keep that depressed when I open up the safe. Okay, so I need a sleight of hand to get this thing open.
And that's a 6.
All right. Well, there's nothing stopping you from giving it more tries, but you're guessing this does look like a relatively sophisticated safe. So basically, enough failed tries will basically permanently lock this safe, and then you'll have to have the paladins cut this thing out of the wall and basically take it to a locksmith.
Does anyone want to help me with this?
Yeah, I'll help.
Thanks. Okay.
Right.
If I roll it with advantage, maybe do better. I got 7s both times, so that's 11 both times.
Okay, still failing. It's like 30 minutes later at this point. You're beginning to get frustrated.
You guys, should we try it one more time?
I mean, what's the worst that could happen? We fail again?
Blow it up, yeah, and kill ourselves. But yeah, let's do it. YOLO! Okay, 22.
All right, third time is the charm. It's like a full hour later at this point. Everybody's beginning to get bored. The young chipper paladin is basically has put his feet up is sitting in the evil villain's chair and put his feet up on the other, like a chair essentially. You're surprised that the evil villain's chair survived the explosion. It's a little marred, but it's still there. Does anybody say anything to the young chipper paladin while he's sitting?
Yeah, I would. I wouldn't sit there if I were you.
Why not? It's semi-comfortable, and it seems to be the only seating in this room.
It's cursed.
Oh, yes, of course. I see he quickly steps up and brushes his ass off.
Did they do anything with the mirror?
You go looking for the mirror and realize that it is. You turn it around to its front, and there's just like broken glass all over the ground where his front is.
Awesome.
Someone. Let's see.
Did they get a short rest while I was working on that?
No, because you are actually working. No.
Well, I thought maybe all of them got a short rest, so then they could give me things when I
I
go
can take
down.
longer rest if anybody needs it.
Well, I'm saying this is the problem, right? I think all of you have already expended all your hit dice going into this room, so it's like,
Yeah, I don't have any left.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure everybody is like that. So everybody's already expended all their hit dice because I give you multiple options to short rest during this whole dungeon.
Yeah, we did it.
Okay, so all right, let's have so since Lady Emma is another curious, curious for their own good sort of person, you are filtering through the plinth that the dragon skull used to sit on at the moment. It seems to be cracked in half, and like the half of the stone is laying on the ground. But you notice there's a hollow like shaft in it, and there seems to be something glittering at the bottom of that hollow shaft.
I think I have something over here.
All right. Do you have a mage hand or either a long pair of tongs to fish it out of the bottom of the plinth? Or do you just
Does anybody have?
dump it out?
I'm gonna ask. Does anybody have a mage hand?
Yes, you can have Dirk's mage hand. What do you need?
I guess otherwise occupied at this point,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
Dirk is diligently working me on the safe at this point, so this is going to hour.
Yeah. Just give me a minute, Lady Emma. It's only gonna take like one more minute, I swear.
It's like five times ago. Don't worry.
All right.
Dirk has no sense of time.
All right. This is taking too long. I'm just gonna dump it out.
You slowly lower the plinth down. It's slightly heavy, so make me an athletics check to basically lower it to the ground.
You got it.
Gently, as opposed to just like dumping it over full force.
Eight.
Okay, well, there's a loud thump as you just like dump it to the ground. There's a sort of cylinder potion bottle like rolls out. You see half of the potion like spill out as its cork sort of shoots out from the mouth of the jar. Half of it is like spilling on the floor, and it's like there's a sulfurous like greenish cloud raising up where it seems to be eating through the stone floor as you carefully You carefully grab it, because you probably always have tongs. You grab the potion with the tongs and sort of tilt it back up. There's half a bottle of some sort of green, bilious green liquid. There's like neon green liquid. You're guessing this is like a super strong acid or something.
All right, I'm gonna take what's left of the acid and put it in my
All right.
pack.
You sort of look around, it's like you wipe it on the carpet, wipe the stuff that's spilled on the carpet so it doesn't eat its way through your back, and like take its cap and like recap it. All right, so you have half a vial of super strong acid at this point. Let's see here. You're sort of peeling in the shaft inside the plinth to make sure there's nothing else in there. Makes you get it for. There is something else rattling around in there, but it seems to be stuck.
All right, I'm gonna try to get it unstuck.
Okay. How do you propose getting it unstuck?
How stuck is it?
You try tilting the plinth over. It's not coming out. Either you're gonna have to get someone strong to shake this thing out, and hopefully put something soft underneath it in case it's another potion vial, or alternately, maybe you can remove the bottom of the plinth somehow. As you're sort of looking at the bottom of the plinth, it looks like it is screwed on, so it's like maybe if you could grab some tools, then you could basically unscrew the bottom from the top.
Does anybody have any tools that we could use?
You go and talk to the paladins because it's like, well, here, you can use this dagger. I know you.
All right. So I'm gonna take the dagger and try to unscrew it.
Alright, the dagger point is sort of chisel. It has sort of a chisel point on the dagger, so it sort of lines up the basic point of the dagger, but just like you're seeing the paladin probably doesn't care all that much.
I definitely don't want to use my own dagger.
Basically, unscrew the 4 screws holding on the bottom of the plinth and carefully set it off to the side. Wiggle your fingers down there to make sure it doesn't fall out the other side. Okay, the inside is what you're guessing is some tinkling material, essentially, with maybe like marbles or gems. As you open up this bag into your palms at the moment, and it is a bag of marbles. They're beautiful and sparkly, and you're sort of like in the magical lighting of this room, essentially, because all the priests are using the light spell. You could see little galaxies of stars swirling around inside these 10 marbles.
Ooh, that's pretty. Way to go there.
Sounds like Men in Black.
Is it magical?
You eventually cast the detect magic ritually, and you're looking at it. Yes, they are magical. And then, do you want to also cast identify as a ritual?
Yes.
Okay. So eventually, you identify them as marbles of tripping and falling. So they will. You deploy them in a 10 by 10 foot area, basically, and they will magically get under the feet of people trying to cross that area and trip them up.
So it's like barbarians, but better.
Yes.
That's awesome. Lady Emma's gonna save that for later.
Okay. All right, and then the acid is strong acid, essentially. So it is. You could probably like cut through a small lock with it, but there's barely enough of it just for a small lock. If you had the whole vial still, it probably would be enough for a big lock, but like a small lock is about all you have acid you have left at this point. That maybe you could like screw up a lock if you poured it into a lock, then it would be jammed or otherwise unworkable. Right, so that's that. Dirk eventually gets the safe open, uses a little metal tongue depressor device to keep the button pressed in. The door is thick. It is like easily like 6 inches of steel, like hardened steel. You you swing open the door and sort of see, okay, well, oh yeah, I see how this works. There's a hidden button there that you would use to press this thing. As you click the button all the way down to basically put it in the safe position, you see this, you see what is obviously like a large vial of nitroglycerin and a detonator, like probably sitting in the, like off to one side of the safe. So if you did not open this correctly, you would probably have destroyed everything inside and probably sprayed everybody directly in front of the safe, basically with shrapnel.
Would Dirk do something like that?
So you have a vial of explosives. You have some nitroglycerin if you want some explosives with you. It's probably not super safe to carry around with you all the time, but you have it. And then the other thing you notice in here is a sort of like small black book that looks like some sort of ledger or journal, as well as a tray of diamonds.
Does it have the word Death Note written on it?
It does not have the word Death Note written on it.
I wonder if those diamonds are big enough to do resurrections.
So, some of the diamonds you're noticing are probably large enough to basically do resurrection with.
Yeah, maybe we should hang on to some of these guys.
Small fortune in diamonds here. The chipper Paladin goes, well, considering the amount of resources the Sisters of Mercy have spent on this, we would probably at least claim 50% of that. So we can work that out with the captain later on, but essentially,
fair.
keep that in mind.
Yeah, that seems fair. I mean, we clearly did a lot of the work, and we did get blown up. But yeah, you guys have helped a lot, and you certainly helped us get into the safe. What do you guys think? Is 50% fair?
They also cleared out probably 50% of the harder encounters in the lair. You didn't have to basically fight the two giant groups of ghouls, essentially, that one that was in the throne room and the other that was basically came out of that crypt.
And they did heal us.
And they did heal you, and they
Couple
killed
of times.
the giant abomination that crawled out of the nether.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I think it's fair, but we're a group, so we decide.
No, it seems fair. I mean, I don't have any
Fine
real
with
use
me.
for diamonds.
Well,
That's fine with me. I'm a royal. I don't care.
So what's some last stuff in there? Oh yeah, and then there's there's effectively a sash of deep royal purple and silk with the Davenport house sigil on it of essentially a coiling dragon, and yeah, that's it. So black notebook, tray of diamonds. Probably a liter of nitroglycerin and a sash.
wow, that's a lot of night.
Ooh, can I hold on to the sash?
What's it
Sure.
do?
I bet it would fetch a pretty penny. She's trying to say she thinks it would go for a lot if you sold it.
Well, I think we should identify on it when we get a chance and see if it has
Yeah, for sure.
special significance, because it was in the safe, and if it was just pretty cloth, I don't know why it would be in the safe. It may be
Oi.
something they want to get back. It may be of significance for their family, or it may have something special about it.
The little man has a point.
Okay, so when you identify the sash, eventually it identifies as the what is it? The spectral mantle. It allows you to effectively become a ghost.
Spooky.
Ooh.
That may be how they were getting
That's
around
interesting.
some. Yeah. So who
I,
wants to hold on to that?
Fascinating.
I already got enough ghosts following me. I
Krishana, do
don't
you
need
want to
any
hold
more.
on to that one?
I like pretty things, yes.
Okay. Well, this means you could become a ghost and sneak around very effectively. So that might be a good thing to hang on to.
What exactly do you mean by ghost, Lawrence? Is it like the specter ability I had?
Effectively, you become ethereal for all intents and purposes. You enter the ethereal plane for a minute.
Oh, so it's I assume it has a cooldown.
It's usually once per day.
Okay, so you get
It
a
resets.
free.
It recharges at sunset.
So you get a free ethereal once a day. That's powerful.
Well, if Krishana just cares that the moustache is pretty, then perhaps I should hold on to it.
No, I'm thankful for the sash. I'll use it.
We can always remind her to use it or borrow it, right?
Or we
But
can share if you'd like to share.
Yeah, Krishana hasn't gotten anything since the potion stuff.
Okay.
And what about Zumlar? Has he found anything interesting in here?
All right, so everybody, I guess you're giving me a D20 for random stuff in the room. The girl with all sorts of trinkets got shot around the room. Some of them probably survived. So.
Not to mention, two things. One, we have a periaptive health that one of the retired characters is holding on to. Two, we also found a quote-unquote red and gold necklace that was survived some sort of destruction. So we assumed it was magical. But I don't think we identified it.
Okay. So, Lady Emma and Zumlar, you find a small fist-sized crystal ball embedded in a wall. It's slightly cracked, but might still be. Mack, you find the monkey paw, which seems to be strangely completely untouched. Essentially, no shrapnel. It's not broken, even though basically it's just a simple bit of leather taxidermy. It's a monkey's paw on a small leather strap. And then let's see here, Lady Emma. You find effectively a 20-sided die. Half of it is basically marked in basically what is it? Like the 0 with a cross in it, a not symbol, and then the other side is marked with dashes. You're not quite sure what this thing does, or even if it's magical, because none of these items are detecting as magical. But they obviously survived an explosion, so there's something unique about them. Okay. So that is what you guys find. Scribble them down on your characters. You can play with them or bring them up basically as a possible plot item later on.
We found some stuff.
You can sell them as spare change for 50 gold if you would find a curio dealer.
We found in the room with those small beds some information about two little royals or little nobles, right?
That's correct. You have there's a note essentially from what is it? Marcus and Aurelius Draconis, written saying, "Hey, should anyone find this? Essentially, we are being held prisoner by this cult and the Order of Hermes, and we would dearly love to be returned to our family." It's written a fine, noble hand. You're guessing essentially they're two brothers or maybe twins. It's hard to say.
Is there any way I can
Probably sub 13-year-old essentially. So the oldest they could be is tweens because the beds aren't large enough for adults.
Is there
Yeah,
any
I thought
way
there's
I
something
can
rings.
tell how old these are based on like scent? Like not the age of the individuals, like how long ago this note was written?
You're guessing it's not super old, given the beds. They were like toys and other things in the bed, essentially, so indicating that these beds were used recently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and
so it can't be more than
the same is true for actually all of the beds. The grave soil underneath the other three beds has the imprint of a person on it, as if it had been slept in, like not too long ago, essentially. So this is like a extra coffin, essentially, for the Davenports. You're guessing, or an extra grave that they can go to.
Yeah, so we feel like
and so the kids were here.
Fled with the children. And
yes.
They need our help. So what do the Paladins think about that?
Well, we'll certainly look into it. The Draconis family has a long and storied history here in London. They're one of the let's see here. they're from the Fey embassy from Tir Nanog. Essentially, they were the Draconis family. Essentially, was the regional family that was in the embassy from Tir Nanog before the our Grand Empire invaded them. And then the Draconis family sort of like fell out of favor at that point, and no one heard from them again. I have to assume they were still moderately wealthy, so perhaps they settled into other parts of the London at this point. They definitely wouldn't have been put into the slums with the other refugees from Tir Nanog.
I mean, it makes sense.
I'm sure if you ask around, I'm sure the sort of like chipper Paladin lieutenant, if you ask around the Northwark, I'm sure you're sure to find something about the Draconis. It's not like they're not an unknown. It's not like they're an unknown name, for instance, essentially.
I feel like there must be some significance to them if the Davenports had them down here with all this other stuff they were hiding.
Yeah, I would have like sniffed their beds and stuff, and like
magic runs strong in Fade blood, so it's like if street urchins and random people of the streets of Southwark were doing it for them, I'm sure Fey noble heirs would have been a stronger sacrifice. As grim as that sounds.
This might be me being too hopeful, but I don't think they were killed.
The beds in there they had the adult beds had coffins under them, so they seemed to be sleeping in the same room with the vampires.
Yes, that's right.
They wouldn't necessarily do that with somebody that they were going to, just
These seem like
sacrifice
hostages, not
sacrifices.
sacrifices.
Yeah, they seem like there's something significant to them. So
okay. And then the only last thing that you haven't done in here is actually use the lavender revealing key on the pillar in the summoning room. Whether or not you actually want to do this, that's a good question, because when you actually did the use the wander revealing in the summoning room, the portal to the helmet is still open at this point. You all get to see it firsthand. It's just like, so at this point, so whatever ritual they did open the portal to hell, and it's still sitting open there. The Sisters of Mercy and the priests of the One God are going. Lieutenant's going, well, assuming we could get a high priest down here to try to close up the portal at some point. They're busy. They tend to be old and fragile, however, so we would definitely need to thoroughly secure this area before we commit an older priest to this effort.
When we were down here, there was a familiar that was a cat.
Yes.
Davenport's. And so we should be on the lookout for him too.
Well, we haven't certainly seen any. Well, let's put it this way: there are strays all over Southwark. So if you're looking for a black cat, they're as common as dirt. Unfortunately,
I mean down here. If we see a cat down here, it's going to be a bad.
Yes, that's a possibility to be sure, but I haven't seen any. Okay. So
maybe he went with his master.
Exactly. All right, so that is about it. You have what you have out of the cultist lair at this point. You're guessing they were partially successful, or perhaps wholly successful in opening up the portal in the ritual room, but a number of the members paid a very high price for that success. That's it. Obviously dead at this point.
It's been about a day since was it like an elder god or something that got pulled up with the sacrifice? It's been about a day. Have any strange reports been coming out of London? We wouldn't know because we've been down here, but the Paladins might know.
You head upstairs at this point. The Paladin is back in charge at this point after having, apparently, you're guessing she probably went to go take a long rest somewhere in a nearby tavern or something along those lines. She's sort of taking her coffee at this point and rubbing the sleep out of her hands. So, my lieutenant here tells me that the lair is clear at this point, and we can probably dedicate some time to closing the portal that you have identified as being open to the nether, where it is open at this point. do you happen to need that key essentially that you found, or?
We don't.
Sure,
We know what it's for, but we haven't bothered to use it yet. As you can see, we're still a bit roughed up.
All right. Well, it's your call in this particular case whether or not you want to hold on to that or not. I don't know if it's gonna. The high priest might be able to tell me different or not, but I'm guessing it might be useful in closing the portal. So, if you leave it with us, essentially, that I think that would be the best course of action, but that is your call.
I mean, I'm not the one holding on to it. He looks at Emma.
We should let them use it to close the portal. What do you guys think?
Agreed.
All right.
Do we want
So,
to give her
Lady
like
Emma,
a handful of diamonds and say we found these down there, and maybe this will help defray some of the cost of all the supplies you had to use?
Yeah, this is your battle basically sweeps about half of the diamonds into her field desk. It's like, all right, so this is yours. Here, she writes you down a recommendation to a good junior. It's like, all right, so Smithies will be able to convert this into cash for you. I don't assume you're going to want to carry around like 10, 15 grand worth of diamonds. So
10, 15 grand?
yes, 10 to 15,000 pounds worth of diamonds. That's off the. By the way, we don't have a particularly discerning eye for gems, but we do use a lot of diamonds to return the dead or heal the temple of the one god. So that's my guesstimate about how much your share is worth.
It
Oh,
takes
right.
so that's 10 to 15 resurrections. So we might want to sell some of them for cash, but I think we need to hang on to a few of them for possible resurrections in the future.
Oh, Captain, I would make a request. I got hit with a nasty bit of magic down there, and I'm not feeling. I think something's wrong with me. Do you think something you can do about it by chance?
All right.
I'm referring to my wisdom score.
The battle mistress snapped her fingers and motions over. Just like, all right, well, check on this individual, check on Mr. Sniffer here, Mr. Mack here, and see if he's cursed. The high priest will have to take care of that. If you are cursed, unfortunately, none of the younger Lamplights here have the ability to basically dispel curses. So
that's all right. I'm still me. I'm still functional. It just feels, I don't know, something feels off.
well, the young priest verifies. Yes, battle mistress. Unfortunately, Mr. Mack is cursed. A powerful one at that. A high priest will have to take care of it. If you want to head to St. Mary's now, if you hurry and take a cab, perhaps you can get there before the last mass of the day. The high priest won't be seeing any seeing any parishioners at that point.
I understand. I realized I used to look like you. I know I'm still me, but I just look different. Will he still see me? Can he still help?
Given that you have the recommendation of the Sister of Battle, yes, I don't see that as a problem.
Okay.
So she writes you a letter of introduction, and it's like, all right, we'll take this to St. Mary's. They'll let you in the front doors as soon as they see this bit of paper here.
Thank you, Mistress.
I'm going to ask you to come into the next, so don't be insulted. That is just...
No, of course, I wouldn't want to scare anyone either. I know, I look horrifying.
Yeah.
I know. But it comes
The
out.
high priest might actually be able to remove your curse of lycanthropy as well. Is that something you're interested in?
I'm still working it out. I haven't lost control yet. It's I'm still thinking about it. But
All right.
Thank you, Mistress. Thank you.
All right, so the mistress basically flops back in her sort of canvas director's chair and starts interviewing the young lieutenant about what he saw and if there's any other dangers that still exist within the lair at this point. And as you sort of like, the conversation sort of drones off into the background as you scan around essentially for a Johnny Cab around the South Ward. Unfortunately, they're relatively not easy to find in the South Ward. They're mainly because most of the people in the South Ward can't afford to basically take a Johnny Cab. Let's put it that way. You eventually sort of meander on to the northern edge of the Southwark, and next to the River Thames, next to Bridge 5, eventually you find a Johnny Cab. Each of you will need to pay 5 gold for a ride, as the Johnny Cab will quickly and efficiently takes you at a breakneck pace all the way over to St. Mary's Cathedral. You all pile out you head to the Pauper's entrance, which is effectively the entrance people that aren't human have to entrance. There's a sort of bleary-eyed acolytes sitting there taking alms and small donations from the church, as each of you pretty much drop a gold piece in, and it's drop a pound piece in, and it's it's are you in urgent need?
I wouldn't call it urgent, but I got this, and I hold up the letter from the battle mistress.
Well, that will get you to see High Priest immediately. But what is your condition? What is your ailment, sir? I did not see any wounds upon you.
Do you have to even ask? I'm kidding.
No, I can see wounds upon you. Are you critically injured? Because you look critically injured.
He's
No,
been cursed.
Some of you have giant scars across your face, giant black eyes. It's
He's been cursed. He's been cursed, so
cursed. Yes. Only a high priest can take care of that. Please come this way as the young acolyte takes you in to a small vestibule. It's completely unadorned. There's just sort of a simple kneeling bench and a rack of candles here where you can light prayer candles. And that's about all that's in this room. It's a little smoky from the prayer candles. But you wait there about 10 minutes, and eventually a doddering old kind of shuffles into the room. So, which of you is cursed?
I step forward.
Oh.
Hello, Father.
So, all of this, as he sort of motions over your whole body, is is this your curse? Are you cursed to be a beast? Is that what you need removed?
No. If anything, it's not nearly as bad as it seems. I was exploring down inside of a crypt. The battle mistress might be able to tell you more, but I was hit with a nasty bit of magic, and now I don't feel so right. She told me to come see you.
All right. Well, let me check your spirits, as he takes his extremely arthritic hands and sort of holds them to the other side of your muzzle, and then incants plain Latin, and then his eyes sort of glow a dull golden glow for a second as he looks into your eyes, and it's all right, well, the major curse of lycanthropy isn't, you would actually have to go under a full atonement to get rid of that, but I can get rid of this minor curse on you. Well, actually, it's not so minor a curse. In a month, you would die from it, but it's slow acting, so I think I can get rid of it right away. Would you be willing to donate 500 crowns to the good folks of St. Mary?
Excuse me one moment, and I walk over to Dirk, and I pick out one of the nice-looking diamonds, and I hold it up and ask her, will this cover it?
Excessive, but we'll take the donation nonetheless. You're effectively giving him 1,000 gold pieces. Do any of you, the rest of you, need services? This is more than enough, essentially, to remove the curse.
Consider it a gesture of good faith. I did used to be human after all.
Basically a donation to the church. Should you be in need again, essentially, please use my name. I am Mark. I'm Priest Marcus. Call upon me again should you need my services, and I will attempt to help you. Okay, so you have one free church service, essentially, for the future. So just I have an IOU with the church. All right, so High Priest Marcus. All right, lie here, and as he pulls out a holy water sprinkler and fills it up with a vial of holy water and begins to sprinkle you with holy water, it's like, and begins to recant a prayer over you. There's your bones like twist and shift as his attempt to dispel the curse also like touches upon your lycanthropy, and it's just like you're going, ow!
Yeah.
As everybody sort of watches uncomfortably as Sniffer is basically just rolling along the ground, essentially, as you hear this horrible crackling and popping noise, essentially wherever the holy water touches. There's something like built miasma begins to pour out of him, and eventually, like Sniffer's like passed out on the floor as the priest like wiggles him awake. It's like, my son, you are freed of this death curse. You feel like basically you've been put in the rack, and basically your bones and tendons have been stretched quite as you're sort of like sore all over, like, ow.
Physically, everything hurts, but like mentally, I feel like I'm no longer anxious and no longer feel like death is hanging over me. So like
upon you that is eventually going to kill you. That's correct.
That was not pleasant, but I feel much better. Oh, thank you for that. Thank you.
One God bless you. It's like,
and also with you.
All right.
I just sort of give him a toothy grin of trying to be as earnest as I can be while also still being absolutely terrifying.
High Priest Marcus chuckles and is like, come on, Clyde, we have go back to your post. I'll see these fine ladies and gentlemen out. As Priest Marcus basically slowly decrepitly scoots over to the back to the entrance, sort of leading you on the way out of the temple. It's like opens the pauper's door. You're looking by there isn't just a giant line of people to the Church of the One God, but you're beginning to realize essentially most people who are from South Warwick, who are fairies, would not come here on a dare. It's like they just wouldn't come here at all.
For us being Fae, he treated us rather well. I'm quite pleased with that. And he cracks his neck and
one more basically says that we should be gracious to all creatures on the earth, Fae or not. Fortunately, that's not. I believe the people of South Warwick have come to believe that we would treat them ill or treat them badly. If you let them know, essentially that is not the case. I hope to basically be able to see more parishioners, and maybe God willing that they become worshippers of the one God.
They're not mutually exclusive. I've learned this, but I will spread the word.
All right,
at the very least.
Please, Marcus, daughter's backing up to the door, and like you can see, it's like trying to kind of like painfully close the heavy door. There's a sort of silent click as the door basically goes back into its latch. Okay, so you're healed. You at this point, everybody spends a pretty much an evening like bandaging up, healing, going back to your own private residences at this point, and getting yourself ready for tomorrow. You're all going to meet at the Iron Cauldron, which is sort of an inn, a tavern on the north end of the South Warwick, next to the Sledges, which is the coal, particularly the Coal Miners Guild, or the Coal Dealers Guild, essentially at the north end of the South Warwick. It's the sledge workers basically definitely have the hardiest and cheapest food available, essentially, because they work hard jobs during the day, so it's a generally popular place to hang out. All right.
So we got a long
Everybody is
rest.
back up to full health and full spells again as you get a long rest in. The morning fog has come in. Essentially, everybody can see like 3 feet in front of their face as you continually see Southies come in and out of your field of vision as each of you individually make your way up to the sledges.
Is that
You could-
weird hum still in the air?
there is no weird hum in the air, but there is. You can see signs of fright and discomfort on like just about everybody's face. Just like more so than normal because like living in the South Work is like a hard life. You are a pauper in the slums after all.
Yeah, it's a hard life, but it's like more so than
Seeing signs
usual.
of people being fearful, looking up into the sky, looking into every alleyway before they pass it, as if something is going to jump out of them from the ever-present fog. It is definitely daylight, though it's like many times in London, it is hard to tell because this continual fog slash
Daylight.
basically just paints everything just in a sort of a silvery gray light that you can tell is daylight and a silvery blue light that is often nighttime under the gas lamps. Okay, so it is daytime. You arrive at Southwark. The walls and the cobblestone streets become blacker and blacker as coal dust seems to have settled down on everything. The Iron Cauldron, aptly named, its front windows are blacked out due to coal dust, and a large and a sign that basically looks like a black iron cauldron sort of swings creakily in the little breeze that there basically is from the Thames. You head in. There's a raucous crowd in here, easily like 3 or 4 dozen people. Of them being sledge workers that work the coal sledges coal barges that bring in coal into London, and the other half sort of being merchants and probably coal dealers and sort of freelancers like yourself, since this seems to be a popular freelancer spot. You can see, let's see here. Which of you basically are people that arrive early?
Mack would definitely not be arriving early, as he feels like 2 tons of bricks after what he went through yesterday.
Dirk is very distractible and highly unlikely to be there on time.
Okay.
Lady Emma would be there early.
Okay. So Lady Emma arrives there a little early. Krishana, I assume him as a bard, you sort of arrive fashionably late. Okay, so Lady Emma, you arrived there a bit early, maybe about 20 minutes early, because you actually want to get something to eat. And if you arrive late with everybody else, essentially most of the breakfast buffet would already be cleared out. As you sort of pile rashers and bacon and eggs and tomatoes and mushrooms on your plate, and grab a mug of Joe and sit yourself down at a wooden bench. An affable looking dwarf who's like black with soot. It's like greets you. It's like, hey, miss, good morning to you.
Good morning.
You look like a much more learned type than I would expect from these parts. You go to university?
My fair share of studies.
Well, yeah, my dear daughter is interested in going to university, but I'm told they don't take dwarves. Is that true?
To be honest, I wouldn't know.
I see. Well, you look given you be a book learned woman. Did you wouldn't happen to know of any good tutors or perhaps hedge wizards? My daughter really needs to study magic.
Well, I studied under the royal wizard.
You wouldn't have to be taking apprentices, would you?
What was that? You kind of cut out.
You'd be taking apprentices, would you?
Me or the wizard I studied under?
Well, either, but since you're here, basically, are you taking apprentices? Could pay you a little.
I'll take an apprentice.
All right. Well, here, let me take your name and contact information, and I'll give you mine, and I'll send a. We'll arrange something. Unfortunately, I had to be heading to my ship, and I happened to see you here. So good meeting you, lady.
Lady Emma.
He holds out a sort of like grubby black paw of a hand, essentially, for you to shake.
It was nice to meet you.
Do you actually not shake his hand?
I sort of look at his hand and then tentatively reach out my hand and shake it.
Okay. You shake his hand, your hand is all black and things. To this point, you're trying to wipe it off on a napkin, and it's still like gray streaks are still all over your hands. It's just, well, that was
Isn't that what prestidigitation is for?
Well, if you have prestidigitation, you can instantly clean your hand. That's perfectly fine. All right, so there you have an apprentice at this point named Carly Nesmith.
Okay, awesome.
Yay, an NPC.
All right.
I miss Ham, you know.
All right, so you're put in touch with a young dwarvish girl, probably maybe about 13 years old in like human years, probably around 20, 30 in dwarvish years, but like, but to you as a celestial, there's like centuries are but a dance. So it's like everybody still seems young in comparison to you. Let's put it that way. So. See, actually, speaking of which, Lady Emma, as far as being a celestial, it's like, are you very old, or are you basically like normal human age, essentially?
Well, I look like a teenage girl.
Either, right? Because you could have been from the royal family in the past or in the present.
Right.
So your call, which you want it to be, essentially. If you're old, it essentially means you have stronger ties to basically Tiernanog and the old land. If you're younger, it means you're basically associated with the current British monarchy.
Yeah, I'm very old.
You're very old. Okay, so you are actually a scion of basically the Tiernanog. So.
Yeah, I'm about 400 years old.
Okay, there. All right, so let's see here. So you have an apprentice. All right, the rest of your team like piles on in fashionably late, like 30 minutes late. There's hardly any breakfast left. Some of you are sort of drinking breakfast as you sort of like grab a mug of ale at this point, and sort of chugging that down at this point. They're looking at each other across the table and trying to figure out what to do next. So there was the Draconis siblings that you can look into. There's the sort of like beer hall in the north. You can basically try to find out more information, and you can start trying to decode the Rolodex. Let's see here, what else? What are some other obvious clues? You can go back to the and see how the closing the Hellmouth is going.
I'm
These are all
wondering
reasonable things to do.
if we can look for traces of the elder god that has come out and strangely not been.
You would say that, Tree, because typically chasing down elder gods is a way to rack up more insanity.
I'm just saying, you know.
Lady Emma is a little tentative to go after the twins. She thinks it might be a trap.
Okay.
I think I don't know that we're the people to decode the index. Maybe there is someone else that would be good at that.
Okay.
And we've got plenty of money. We can pay for
They
that.
hand it over. Could certainly hand it over to either the Sisters of Battle, or I'm sorry, the Sisters of Mercy, or the Church of the One God to have their heretic inquisitors basically go after, try to find these people. That's perfectly fine. Let's see. You also had some interesting stuff, basically, that you found in the cultist lair. There was a locket of 7 stars, which was Fey Noble's trinket, that a Fey Noble may want that back at some point or another. There was the Twin Dragon belt made by a well-made dwarvish girdle that probably also belonged to a dwarvish noble at some point or another.
Right, I took that. It looked quite nice.
Yes, if you return it back to the said dwarvish family or clan that it belonged to, they may reward you. The other thing, you also need to basically take some time and sell the diamonds that you are due to sell, because none of you have the opinion. Essentially, you really have a safe place to basically keep thousands of diet. You either need to put them in a bank or some sort of safety deposit somewhere, because carrying them on you is like an invitation to lose them. Let's put it that way.
I mean, I already took one, so I feel like I at least sort of have part of my fair share. I don't know how much I'll get.
There's bankers all over the place, essentially, that will keep stuff and there's bankers all over the place that will keep stuff safe for you if you want it to be. If you want that stuff, like your large amount of wealth, to be held for you rather than just carrying it on your person.
We might want to sell some of them and break it down into pounds and silver and copper so that we can pay for cab rides and meals.
Yeah.
And bribe people and
I'm saying you probably don't want to carry more than probably about 200, 300 gold on you at any time. Because this is the other part, basically, all of you are eminently aware of in Southwark. It is not necessarily a safe place. If people realize you have like thousands of gold upon you, you will be assailed by pretty much 24/7 by noodles and bandits all the time.
yeah.
So we break down 1 diamond and divide it between each of us?
Yeah,
Well,
you probably should safety deposit box or bank the rest, essentially, in a bank to keep for safe holding, so you don't have to worry about it getting lost.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. All right, so you eventually find, you track the Mistress of Battles, you track down this jeweler in North Wark that she was referring to, and it's this jeweler named jewelry store named Bastiles. You show up. There's a lovely Frenchman that's like, well, hello, I greet you. What fine goods could I sell you, fine lords and ladies? Though you don't all appear to be lords and ladies, but nonetheless, I will treat you as lords and ladies. What can I help you with?
I'm not the one that's good with words.
Do you want to talk to him about selling the 1 diamond?
Well, hello there. We have some valuable items that we would like to sell to you.
Exchange, I believe, is the
If it
word.
is jewels and jewelry, you have come to the right place. Bastiles deals in all kinds of finery. So may I see your goods? As you pull out a tray of diamonds, it's like, as there's a low whistle from the clerk, from the jeweler. It's like, that is a small fortune.
I thought we were going to put all the diamonds in the safe deposit at the bank and only take 1 to the jeweler.
Yeah, we're only taking 1.
Okay. But, well, and also, Bastiles reads basically jeweler, and what is it? jeweler and holder of fine goods, essentially, which sort of indicates they're also a safety deposit.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it makes sense. If you're dealing with jewelry, you're gonna need to be able to keep it safe. So why not like double down on the business?
Yes.
We'll keep our stuff and your stuff safe.
Okay, so I will have to appraise these jewels. If you will give me a moment, essentially, I'll need to get some equipment. As he heads to the back, essentially, please, as he motions for his assistant to, he's like, please see that our guests have some refreshments. As this sort of like mousy blonde clerk with spectacles and sort of tails and back of the head, and wearing this like loose doublet. Like holds forth a tray of tea sandwiches and what appears to be this sort of like reddish drink that you eventually figure out is some sort of fruit juice.
Mac will take at least one tea sandwich and some juice. Oh, I kind of missed breakfast, so thank you. Thank you for this.
Okay, so she seems fascinated that you can speak.
I used to be human, believe it or not. The war.
She goes, really?
Oh,
It's like, do you come from Nog?
no, well, kind of. That's why I was cursed. Well, I say cursed. It's oddly more of a blessing than you might think. It's not like I've lost control ever. At least not yet.
She basically like timidly like boops you on the nose, just like. You don't know whether that's rude or not. It's like you're trying to figure it out in your head as she basically, I was wet. I wasn't expecting it to be wet.
Most dogs' noses are, so kind of makes sense. I'm still figuring it out myself, but it's oddly been beneficial. It's hard to explain. I know I look big and scary, but I did used to be human.
Well, my name's Clementine, by the way. What's yours?
My name's Mack, but my friends here call me Sniffer. It's just easier than human name.
Sniffer? Looks like you and your friends have come into a lot of wealth, so I hope to see each other again.
We probably will.
Oh, she sort of smiles a timid smile at you and basically heads back to her work where she seems to be polishing some jewelry at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
The head jeweler comes back out with a loupe and some magical equipment that sort of like shines light through a whole bunch of prisms as he takes each of the gems in turn and spins them around in the prism light and puts them down one at a time and then writes some notes. You can see that he's estimating each of these gems to be roughly about 1,000 gold apiece. It's like, all right, well, you have 14K. Some of the smaller gems are probably around 500, and the smallest gems are around 200. So there's about a selection of like 25 of them in the tray. Eventually, he says, "All right, well, my total here and what I can offer you. This is my offer to you." I am open to negotiation, but I would only come up on this price if for either trade or perhaps banking services. So keep that in mind. Essentially, I can't give you just more gold. Essentially, that there is a cost. There is basically a selling cost. I basically still must achieve certain cost I must achieve. So, how much of these gems do you wish to sell? So you have roughly about 14,000 pounds worth of diamonds here in this tray.
Well, curiosity has piqued me. Could we almost trade? I know we got some spellcasters. I'm not one of them. That I know need diamonds for some of their spells. Could we give you just thinking, give you one of the 1,000 ones, and you give us 350 ones or something like that for the spells? I'm just wondering if that's on the table.
No, I was just simply picking out the gems you need out of your current stash here. So I'm assuming you're wanting some of this in cash and some of it is to be stored. It's actually 1,400 pounds in cash doesn't seem like a very smart idea to be carrying around in the street.
I don't know how we would even manage that,
So
but
I think Dirk's going to use telepathy, and he's going to say, I think maybe we should have 2 of the 1,000 pound diamonds stored here in case we need some resurrections. And then we can store most of the rest of them as gold or whatever he wants to do. And then let's take some of the cash out and divide it up amongst us.
that sounds smart. Smarter than what I would have said, at least.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, that's
So let's go with, let's see here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. So, okay. So let's say 2,500. So 500 apiece is going to be converted to cash. So
That's some solid spending money.
you'll have 500 pounds apiece in spending money. And then we'll put in the other 1,400 basically into banking.
Is it 1,400 or 14,000?
30,000. I'm sorry.
Just trying to keep the digits correct.
All right. So 11,500 basically goes into your account at Steele's.
What's it called? I'm sorry.
Bastille.
Like Bastille Day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
We're very lovely doing business with you. Please come again. As he hands you out each a deposit slip with the Bastille's logo on it, and there's a little magical rune over on one corner of the paper. You're guessing to keep to possibly some sort of like anti-fraud measure. All right, and then here, if each of you could sign this contract essentially for safekeeping of your goods, as the head jeweler like stamps the contract at the end and basically funnels it away. All right, so your money is banked at this point. Effectively per what is it? Per 6 month period, they're charging you £100 to store your money.
Okay. I'm thinking since we've got some cash and we are totally out of healing potions and holy water and any other kind of potions except some very explosive ones and acidic ones that we have, that maybe we should go visit Papa Shay's or another place and try and stock up on those items again. Is there anything else that you guys feel like we need to buy?
So Bastille's is not too far away from St. Mary's. So at this point, you could head to the Church of the One God at St. Mary's Cathedral and just buy some potions there. If you want to, basically, you can just convert your 500 golden credit to potions. You could just do that at this point.
Yeah, I'm thinking, does anybody need to buy a weapon or any other equipment? Or are we all pretty well set?
Lawrence, what type of I guess magical items are available? Like, there is no magic item shop in London, is there? That doesn't really seem like a thing that would exist.
So there are artifacts and relics, basically for various quote-unquote dealers in antiquities, so that have been looted from Tyrannog. So yes, there are magic item dealers out there, but they tend to be, for the most part, since people do not carry guns and swords around the streets of London. Let's put it that way. This is like normal Victorian. You might have a sword cane, you might have a hidden pistol, but no one's going to be carrying around a battle axe. So,
Mm-hmm.
There might be
So,
some
unless
scrolls that Lady Emma might want.
so there are certainly gunsmiths and weapons for fine discerning gentlemen, like dueling swords. So if you're willing to go to a curio or an antique shop, essentially, There's all sorts of these shops scattered around both Southward and Northward that generally deal with looted artifacts from Tirdanog, which are effectively standard magic items.
And then there's that monkey's paw too. We probably want to have somebody take a look at that because that seemed really strange.
Boy, it's my monkey's paw.
Right, but you don't know what it does.
Smells funny.
Look at that
I'm thinking the people that might
20-sided
have.
die that I found. I'd like to take a look at that 20-sided die that I found. Do you think anybody would be able to appraise it?
Is Lady Emma one of those people that will absentmindedly roll the die that she just picked up for you on a table?
Lawrence, no, you're going too deep. We're rolling die in a game about rolling die.
Yes, that is how it works. It is slightly meta, but that's fine.
He's gonna. Okay, Lady Emma takes the die out of her bag and.
During the whole time, she's
roll.
basically at the end cauldron. She's just like rolling it.
And she's gonna roll it on the table as she's asking that.
Okay, so go ahead and roll a d20 for me.
Mack's nose just starts bleeding for no reason.
Alright, let's see what happens. Alright, I got a 12.
All right, so the
It's the dice of many things.
okay, so you have a floating +1 bonus that you can use during this day sometime.
Okay.
So it's like a bardic inspiration, but instead of an inspiration, it's just a +1 you can throw into anything.
So +1 you can throw on anything you want, damage included.
Wow.
That's pretty darn awesome considering how much we
For
roll.
For a quote-unquote knick-knack, that's pretty neat.
Ignore whatever that just was.
Okay,
That was
fair
like
enough.
your test roll?
Can we find somebody to figure out what the monkey's paw does?
I don't know. It's Sniffer, one of those people that basically continually wishes to himself for various. I wish I was taller, smarter, or faster. I didn't smell as much. I didn't have this itch in the back of my.
No, honestly, he's not.
Okay, then nothing happens effectively. Like, Mack is effectively probably the best person to hold the monkey paw because he doesn't wish for things. He's sort of just satisfied.
I mean, he's not like he doesn't believe in things like. Well, he knows there's other powers out there, but like he doesn't think that just like asking for power will work. He believes that.
No,
like,
I'm just saying, if you're one of those people that just like.
Yeah, no, he doesn't.
Little things all the time. Like I wish I wasn't sore.
No, he.
If I
He
had
takes
those 5 gold pieces.
he
Then,
takes things into his own hands.
Yes.
He doesn't-
Okay.
he
So
doesn't
then
wish-
you're probably fine. Essentially,
But maybe it might happen. Just like on the off chance, like I'll keep it in the back of my mind. Like.
Okay. So like I don't know.
Or if there's somebody, if you get an idea that you think that maybe it wouldn't be safe for somebody else, then there may be somebody you want to just slip it in their pocket sometime, you know?
Wishful thinking, Tree, but I'll keep it in mind.
No, not wishful. Don't put it in my pocket.
Okay, and was it Dirk or Krishna that got the cracked crystal ball?
Krishna. Or Krishana, sorry. Oh, no,
Krishana.
actually, no. It was Zumlar, right? It was Zumlar.
Okay,
It
so
was Zumlar.
okay, so he had to drop, right?
Yeah,
Alright.
he had to go because work. I think.
Okay, fair enough. All right, don't worry about that then. Let's see here. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so you've baked. You've got some spare cash at this point. We'll use up the 500. We use the 500 credit you have at St. Mary's to basically say each of you get 2 healing potions at the moment. Just to make this simple.
So wait, the 500 that we just took out, or the 500 that was the
aid to the Church of St. Mary. Essentially, we'll just say each of you get 2 healing potions,
what kind?
like the regular healing guy.
Is it the 1d4 plus 2? I think it is.
It's the 2d4 plus 2, the base healing potion.
that's from the extra credit that we had left over from the diamond that we gave the priest Marcus.
So anyway, talking to the acolyte, just like we've decided essentially to use that the credit we have with the church to acquire potions, and it's like, we have plenty of those. That's no problem. I'll get you some from the store right now. See,
Awesome.
Trump's
We
back.
have some,
Comes back with some potions. So
and some
I think
holy
that
water, maybe.
100, 200, 300, 400. Yeah, if we included Zumlar in there, that would be exactly 500 worth of potions. So throw in an extra 2 holy water on top of that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mack is like, he is trying to going to make good on his word. Like he very much appreciated what the high priest did for him. So like if he sees like an opportunity to mention like, yeah, the church actually did really help, like he definitely mentioned that in just like passing, and just like he's not gonna forget the favor.
All right, fair enough. Okay.
They were very fair to us, even though
They were.
different than
They
Okay.
were.
So, Lady Emma, the die is just going to effectively work the following way. Essentially, when you're gonna, if you're gonna just want, if you just want to see if something lucky or unlucky will happen to you, say to me, the GM, I would like to roll the die, and then we'll roll a d20 and see if you're lucky or unlucky.
It's the dice of many things.
Yes.
That's actually kind of clever. I like that.
Okay.
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Okay. So, let's see here. Bloop, 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 bloop. Okay, so what's your next move at this point? So there's quite a few different paths you could take at this point. So I think Dirk was interested in investigating if people have seen unusual things, basically out on the streets more than usual. If some great evil had actually escaped into London.
You know, we haven't checked in with the police lately since we talked to the Paladins and the Sisters of Mercy.
Okay.
Maybe we should check in with them. They would know if anything weird had been happening.
So you talk to the constabulary. You get over there. The police chief is his handlebar mustachios seem to be slightly unkempt, as is his hair, as if he hasn't slept in a while. Like he slept in his office. He looks and he looks super irate as he seems to be yelling at one of his subordinates at this point. What the fuck do you mean? Basically, there's a pile of bodies in nature of the dock. I thought I told you basically to have that cleaned up by the sanitation crew. It's like, well, they're back. Essentially, couple dead horses, couple corpses. Not super fresh, so I assume they've got dug up out of a graveyard or something. It's like, well, get the sanitation department on it right away. It's like, we're already getting basically dozens of complaints due to the smell. Right, as you're sort of walking up on him, and it's like walking up on the head constable at this point, he's like, "What do you want?" I thought we already finished our dealings here.
Well, we came to see if there was anything else that you needed our help with.
Unless you got a shovel and a bucket, basically, and scrape up dead horses and the corpses off the road, I can't see you being a lot of help at the moment.
So there's a lot of dead horses and corpses turning up on the road now?
Well, not that there aren't a lot of those things like turning up normally, because they were Victorian England. Basically, they're like on a daily basis, some horse would die in the middle of the road, have to be scraped up. But it's like, well, more than usual, essentially. And they're like rotting and moldering in the street, essentially, in hours. Giant mess to clean up. And then some awful person is like digging up graves and dumping corpses of the dead out on the street. So, need that taken care of as well. It's beginning to freak out the locals.
The person or the corpses? Or both?
Well, I assume it's a person. That's like, I can't imagine basically it's a thing, otherwise it would have killed people. So, don't have anybody listed as missing, so I have to assume whoever this person is is like exhuming the dead and dumping them on the street as a show of whatever insanity there happened to be, mania they happened to be under at the time.
What do you think, guys? Would this be something interesting to work on, or do you want to track down the princes or the dwarven family?
Personally, I'm more interested in the princes because I think I have some questions for them. But I think I could probably pull this off. The smelling down some corpses and finding out where they came from, and I think I'm good at that thing.
It sounds
Okay.
like the sort of thing that might be connected to that abomination and the thing that escaped, and maybe the new thing that's going on with the Davenports, because I don't think they've left forever.
Who knows if they even left? They could just be hiding.
Yeah, exactly. And
Essentially, so you could, if you want, you can just say you swung by the Davenport residence to see if anybody's in.
Last time we did that, we almost got murdered. So
This is the day. This is like, it's unlikely they're going to be active during the day. Let's put it that way.
and we messed with all of their equipment to make the sunblock, so they're only going to have so much of that on hand.
Yeah. So, and you kill, and between you and the Paladins, you kill out probably most of their whole army at this point. So it's like they're probably not going to directly assault you on the street. Let's put it that way. So you can always just see if the Davenports are in their house.
Hey, can't somebody turn into a ghost? Is that
Yes.
Krishana? Maybe Krishana could ghost and go through the walls and see what's going on in there?
You want me to explore the Davenport mansion?
What do you think?
well, you have 1 minute to blitz through it.
Oh, it only lasts for a minute?
The ethereal spell only lasts for 1 minute.
Okay.
I could give it a try. There was that young boy that was captured and taken to prison. We can ask him about the people.
All right, the thrall of the Davenports. I remember him. Whatever happened to him, Chief?
Well, if you're talking to the constable, it's going, well, we still have him in custody at this point. We have him directly hooked up to a murder. And the judiciary will see him in roughly about a week, and he'll be tried, probably hung, and that will be the end of him.
I mean, he could be more useful. I don't know.
Well, he hasn't been particularly forthcoming about any further information about the Davenports or the Order of Hermes or cult activities, so I don't know what else we're going to get out of him at this point.
That's fair. Maybe I was just being optimistic.
I wasn't going to ask about the Davenports. I was going to ask about the that family that was down there.
The two.
Well, tell me about this family that was down there, because this is new information to me.
Do you remember the details? I don't. There was the prince that was exiled.
Yeah, there were two siblings.
There's two siblings, so it's let me look up the actual names. So, Marcus and Aurelius Draconis. You show them the letter, and it's like, oh. So, so some young Draconis siblings essentially have been taken away by the Order of Hermes, right? So we'll be on the lookout for them. I could hire you on essentially as impromptu deputized detectives if you want to look into this for me.
We were probably going to anyway. At least I would have liked to.
Yeah,
So,
be taking care of the recently dead on the streets here.
And we'll stay on the lookout for anything that might relate to the recently dead on the streets while we look into that.
mm-hmm.
Okay, well that would be very helpful. So I'll offer you a couple pounds from the reward fund if you happen to solve what's leaving dead bouldering horses and dead corpses on my street.
Sounds like a win-win situation.
Now, if if there's nothing else, I've got a cleaning crew to organize.
You said you were going to deputize this. You're going to give us like some sort of a piece of
Yeah,
paper so we
it's
can
you
show
a
it to
quick,
people.
he writes you a quick letter essentially on a sort of like template contract, just like he signs his name to it, notes your names on it, and it's just like these are duly deputized enforcers of the law, signed Constable Harcourt.
Thank you so
I am
much.
the law.
It's always a pleasure.
All right. So he
Hey,
hands you this piece of
question.
paper. There's already a pre-stamped expiration date on this piece of documentation at the end of the month. So,
How soon is the end of the month?
yeah, but we're just gonna say it's about a month away. You're at the beginning of the month. So,
All right.
all right. So, all right. Don't you may use this. Don't abuse it. Otherwise, I'm going to take it back away from you and arrest you. So he
Yeah,
hands
that
you
makes sense.
he hands you the bit of paper and says like and then basically starts yelling at his lieutenant again to get back in here, start gathering together a cleaning crew, and get the sanitation crew off their asses to go clean up this mess next to the north end of town, the north end of Southwark. All right, so you head back into the streets, and where are you guys headed next?
Do we want to
I
take
got
look at
a
one of the-
question.
Go ahead.
I have 2 signet rings from children that we found in the cellars before we entered the mansion from Marcus and Aurelius. I believe it was from the 2 kids that saw it.
Aurelius's actual signet rings, which is further proof, essentially, that you are telling the truth. Should you want to go talk to the Draconis family?
Oh, so we already know that they're dead.
No, you don't know if they're dead or not. Essentially,
No, he just hired us to investigate what happened to them.
hey, Krishana, you either have other physical evidence that such the Draconis twins were actually there, other than their letter. At this point, you have their actual signet that were taken from them by the Davenport family at some point or another.
Okay.
Was that where there was a locket? It seems to me that Lady Emma got a locket that had a picture of something.
That was a locket. The Locket of Seven Stars is a noble phase locket. Whether or not it belongs to one of the Aurelius brothers or if it has other. It has sort of like a sort of what is it? It has a strikingly. It's basically a cameo of a strikingly beautiful, like blonde-haired Fey woman on the inside of the locket. And then the other side is basically has the seven stars of Corlon, basically the holy symbol of Corlon on the other half. And the locket itself essentially looks like a sort of like stylized leaf made of gold.
It is a literal gold leaf.
Okay,
Yes.
so it might be related to the boys, or it might be a separate issue. Okay.
Or separate, yes.
Well, so we could go and take a look at one of these corpses and see if there seems to be anything missing from them that might be significant, like organs or limbs or something that maybe could be used by the Davenports.
Or maybe it's completely unrelated. We don't know.
Yeah, it could be, but it seems rather odd. Like maybe they're ghouls that have their magics expiring on them or something. I mean, it seems quite odd. The other thing we could do is we could go to the Davenport residence and sort of scope it out and see if servants are coming or going and what sort of activities going on there.
Or lack thereof.
And then if it seems like a good time, maybe Krishana could go and take a spectral look at it. But I think we probably just need to look at it first, don't you think? And daytime would be safest.
Okay. So let's start with the Davenport residence, since you were in the center of town anyway, so that's where the Davenport residence is. You swing by you sort of head into the back alley, check out the front, and sort of look at it from across the road. You're not seeing any signs of like smoke or activity or lighting inside the people moving around inside the Davenport mansion itself. And the fact there's no smoke coming out like from the kitchen or like normal fires inside is sort of indicative there's probably not anyone active in there at the moment. So, what are you guys doing next?
Dirk can disguise himself, so maybe he wants to disguise himself and pretend like he's making a delivery to the back door, the servant's entrance.
Okay. So you described yourself as a milkman, and you're not once, you're not twice, you're 3 times. There's something like fairly urgently and like hard rapping on the door, and nobody responds.
Okay. So if Krishana's only going to have a minute, what places do we want her to explore? What is the most urgent?
So it's a 3-story manor, sort of like a Victorian brownstone. So each floor is relatively sort of narrow, and then the building's three floors tall. You're guessing it only has maybe about 10, 15 rooms between the 3 floors. And there's probably a basement because there often is a basement. So
Yeah, I remember there was weird stuff going on in the basement, and it was connected to some of the other stuff that was going on with the gaslighters.
Yeah, so the basement, you're guessing there is a connection to the sewers and the gas tunnels that run all the way over underneath London. So, but that's also not particularly unique to the Davenport. A lot of people's residents had to have gas piped in, so that's how it gets into your house. So,
Krishana, what do you think? Where do you want to go explore?
I don't know. I guess I could do like a quick run through, or I could try and spend a few seconds looking at something particular.
Okay, well, you could effectively float around at 30 feet per second, 30 feet per round, walking speed. There's no dashing as a ghost, unfortunately. So you could just sort of float from top to the bottom and try to look through each of the floors and see if there's anybody there. That's perfectly reasonable. You are effectively not invisible. You see, once Krishana turns into a ghost, you can see this sort of like ethereal, silvery form of Krishana still there. But if you have invisibility or someone wants to cast invisibility on you, I guess that could be done.
I do not have invincibility. Should I go?
Well, you're generally stealthy. You can always hide in a wall. So, okay, go ahead and roll me stealth at advantage at this point, DC 15.
And I'm going to give her bardic inspiration before she goes.
Okay, got it.
And I've got I've got those special inspirations where you get extra things too. So remind me if you want to use it.
Okay, what's your stealth roll, Krishana?
All right, I got a 12, so I used a bardic inspiration, and I got a 5.
So 17 total.
17 total. All right. So you sort of zoom around, like head down chimney and zoom around the floors, and it's like the only person in the whole mansion at this point is sort of a dour-looking maid. She's sort of bony and skeletal and gray-skinned, and and she's sort of busily dusting the first floor at the moment, but there are no other servants. There's no other sign of other people in the building. You sort of zoom down to the basement level. There's a somewhat semi-extensive wine cellar down here, so there's like hundreds of bottles of fine wine and basically a direct tunnel over into the gas tunnels. But you also see like gas piping essentially running out of those tunnels. So it's like that's just sort of like that's a utility tunnel essentially leading to the gas tunnels.
I don't want to be caught in here, so after I look around, I'll quickly zoom out.
Okay, you zoom back out. You'll probably see there's a old as dirt maid in there, essentially skeletal and thin, dusting the first floor, but you don't see any signs of the Davenports.
I'll relay that to the party. Say, hey, it looks pretty empty. There's an old maid there.
Perhaps there are no more clues here. Maybe we should go speak to the parents of those children.
Okay, well, that is also in the north end of town, so you sort of ask the local constabulary, or Lady Emma. I guess you can also make a diplomacy check. Is there actually a diplomacy skill in this edition of the game, or is it just persuasion?
It's just persuasion.
Okay, so just make me a persuasion check.
Yeah, it'd be persuasion or performance, I bet.
Can I aid her? I got expertise in persuasion.
Sure, why not?
She's hitting me. I got an 11.
Okay, well, you have advantage, so your total is 24 then. Okay. So if you go and stop by a sandwich and tea shop, there's fine ladies in bustles. Lady Emma looks like more like a learned woman, I'm assuming, like when she's in her normal adventuring garb. But you get some raised eyebrows, but otherwise you're in acceptable garb as you sort of shoo the rest of the team outside. You just stay out here. You just stay. Well, how may I help you, young lady? You seem the inquisitive sort.
Well, we're investigating the disappearance of a couple of children. And as a member of the royal family, it's of interest to me.
Oh, you're of the Benecourt family. She's
Correct,
testing
yeah.
you. It's like the royal family is not the Benecourt family. So it's like she's obviously testing you. It's like, do you call her out on it, or do you basically just like wave it away? It's like you obviously don't know what you're talking about.
I'm gonna call her on it.
Like, well, I see someone is learned about the royal horses. So, which family would you be looking for, dear?
We're looking for two children, Marcus and Aurelius.
Unique names. You wouldn't happen to be looking for the Draconis family.
We are indeed.
Well, I can't say. Don't say it came from me, but the Draconis family has certainly fallen upon hard times here in London. I think it's scandalous, essentially, that a fae, that any fae would still basically hold any sway, basically within London high society. So I think it's best, essentially, that they leave the North Ward and really return to the South Ward like the rest of the fae have. She's pretty much saying, like, dirty fae don't belong here.
Now, if you have any information, please let us know.
Though I don't recommend it, perhaps, if you are dead set on meeting the Draconises, essentially. They're at the south end of North Ward, northeast of the Bridge 12.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for your time. And she's gonna leave and go and relay that to the
Okay.
rest of the group.
All right, so Lady Emma has effectively found at this point is like the Draconis family is not well regarded by noble society at this point. Their relationship with the Fae, the fact that they are Fae nobles essentially in British society means that they're just not well regarded at all during that war with Tirdanok. Okay, so Right, you know where the Draconis estate or mansion or whatever they live in is. It's at north of Bridge 12, essentially on the northward. Are you going there at this point? You still have plenty of daylight.
What do you guys think?
I think that's probably the next place to go.
You head over to that part of town. It's like Johnny cabs on this end of town, gentleman cabs on this part of town are a lot cheaper, especially during the day. There is no danger fee for like taking you in and out of the South Ward. So it's only a gold if you want to take a ride over there versus walking. Do you want to do that?
Let's take a ride and maybe we'll ask the cabbie if he's been seeing a lot of dead horses.
Yeah, I'm still a little sore.
But, yeah, any horse that basically dies within the South Ward is a rotting mess of maggots within less than an hour. Nastiest thing I ever saw.
Are there more horses dying than usual, or they're just rotting faster?
I think they're just rotting faster. There's horses dying inside London all the time, essentially. It's the bad air, it's the dirty water. We can't really give them the best feed possible, essentially. So whatever we can ship in. So, yeah, horses don't last long in London.
It's a damn shame.
Well, it is a damn shame. This is why we end up having to charge so much for cab services. We have to replace the horses all the time.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, north of 12. Right. We'll be on our way.
All right. Thank you for the lift.
Right, so it is, he cracks his Velvet's weapon, like you jet across town at high speed. You're really surprised that the Johnny Cabs don't manage to run people over. You're guessing maybe it's just luck. You would never actually see them run people over. You hooves and sparks as your cab arrives at North 12. This is. It's still Northward, but it's just like everything around here seems a little decrepit, a little stained by the fog. It's not like the houses everywhere else in Northward are like pristinely painted and relatively clean, probably at great expense, essentially because the fog tends to stain things. But these houses have like sort of dark stains in every little Gothic channel and arch. The between the bricks essentially has a dark black hue to it. The streets don't seem to have been swept all that often. Though still clean, are still basically like black with rivers of soot. You step out of the cabs. There's a residence here with what is it? What appears to be a golden tree painted on it, but the golden tree has like patinted into this grayish green color over time due to staining or acid damage from the fog. And the gate sort of like hangs slightly off its hinges, leading up a stairwell to the front of a brownstone. You creak it open and head up the stairs, ring the bell. There's sort of three solemn gongs that reverberate in the building up ahead of you as the door creaks open a moment later, revealing this sort of extremely pale and thin elvish woman. She does not look healthy. You can see her veins in her arms and in her neck. And she looks at you timidly. It's like, who might you be? I wasn't expecting any guests.
We're investigators and we're working with the police, and we found some clues about some family members, and we wanted to just find out more information.
May I see your credentials? You have to forgive me. I can't trust the word of people on the street these days. Like several people have tried to defraud us in the past.
We understand completely. So Dirk will whip out the Chief.
She looks it over and then hands you back the papers and opens the door fully and motions you to come in. Come in, come in. I can offer you tea, but not much else. I hope that's all right.
Oh, I believe we're fine. Thank you for that.
She leads you. There's a beautiful parquet floor where it's like beautiful, almost sort of a sylvan scene of like fairies dancing around a fairy queen on the floor. It unfortunately looks like it hasn't been like totally cleaned in like years, so there's like all the white grout has sort of like turned black. She leads you on the first floor to a small sitting room, just enough room to for three of you to sit and her to sit in a sort of comfy high-backed chair, and the rest of you have to stand. Well, I guess the one other person has to stand. So she offers you a spot of tea each, and asks for if you would like cream or sugar, and then takes a seat herself. Like, my dear sons have been missing for the better part of a year and a half at this point. Do you have clues to their whereabouts? I did raise the issue with the police, but the constables say there is nothing to be done.
Lady Emma, do you want to do this, or do you want Dirk to do this?
Why don't you do this one?
Okay.
And Lady Emma's gonna sort of stand at the back behind everybody.
Scanning the room, you can see a once basically vibrant like elvish family, basically elvish family being depicted in pictures all the way around the room. The mistress of the house at this point seems to be like a shadow of herself, former self. She used to be an incredibly full-bodied great beauty, but now she just seems like to have withered away.
Does she look at all like that blonde woman on Lady Emma's cameo-looking thing?
The cameo with the Amulet of Seven Stars, yes, she looks very much like that woman.
Ah, okay. Well, I'm not going to bring that up unless you want to, Lady Emma, but Dirk will say that we've been working with the police and with the Paladins and the Sisters of Mercy, and we found a cult, and it looks like they were working with the Davenport family, and we found some evidence that perhaps your boys have been with them. We don't know how long ago, but we're trying to find out. So I think we should show her the letter, don't you think, guys?
The letter from the sons.
Yeah. It said.
You can see the lady of the house. She tears up a little bit, and a single tear sort of rolls down her face as she reads the letter. It's like, did you find signs that my sons were alive?
We think they were. The beds looked and smelled freshly slept in within at least the past few days. There were like small toys. It did not make sense, at least, for them to be sacrifices for the cult. They seem to be almost like hostages, which implies alive.
Right. So the Davenports fled, and we think they may have taken the boys with them. We don't know, but we didn't find any evidence that they had died. And then I think, Krishana, did you have some rings? Weren't those the rings from the boys?
Yeah, Krishana will pull out the rings. I found these. Here you go, sweetie. And she'll hand them to the lady.
She breaks down into tears and sobs as she basically as tears sort of drop onto the rings in her hands. It's like, it's been so very long since I've seen my boys. Can you was there any clue as to why? It's like no ransom was ever given to demand was ever given to us. They simply disappeared, and we never knew what became of them. We'd assumed they'd been killed.
Can you reason that the Davenports would have had an issue with your family?
I'm not familiar with the Davenports. Who are they?
They're a noble family here in London, and it looks like they have connections to a cult of the Eye of
Hermes.
Hermes.
She hisses at the mention of the Order of Hermes. They know why they want my sons. The Order of Hermes are a group of human supremacists. They believe that the Fae are an abomination upon the earth, and they must be cleansed. It's like, I'm sure they have no good. They have gone and captured my sons for no good purpose.
Right. But if they've been gone for a year and a half, and it looks like they were down there recently, then
The bed smelled fresh.
yeah, they didn't kill them immediately, so there must be some reason. Um,
She, my husband is away,
mm,
returning this evening, but he can fill you in on perhaps he may have a reason why our sons were taken. It's like
Do
we
you
are
have
we are direct descendants essentially of the sons and daughters of Dawn that are the founders of the Kingdom of Tirnanog. Our bloodline holds great promise and power. Now, why I don't think I'm not quite clear how the Order of Hermes might be able to harness that power, because most of that will require deep Fey magic, and I think they would be strongly opposed to any such using such Fey magic themselves. So
it's entirely it's our belief that some of the Davenports at least are vampires, and they're working with the Eye of Hermes. Would the boys have been any particular use to vampires, do you think?
like I said, essentially, a bloodline holds great power in and of itself. It's like, with the proper rituals, essentially, merely our presence is enough to basically power some of the rituals basically that used to drive the rituals essentially that kept our land safe. Our noble vows essentially renewed the wards that our noble vows and blood once a year renewed the wards that guarded Tirnanog and kept it safe. So as such, several of us as nobles were eventually taken into serfdom and thraldom in order to basically destroy the ability of Tirnanog to defend itself.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It sounds like
But-
you had a horrible time.
If anything, I'm here
The
to
word is at
celebrate.
this point that like there are like deep scars up and down basically the lady's arms at this point, as if she's either trying to commit suicide or someone bled her.
You know, if they do need them for something like that, then that means that they're taking good care of them. So we're going to do our best to try and find out where they are now. Do you have any other information that might help us find them?
Well, I'm told wizards and priests can sometimes find the missing based on their favorite items. Perhaps if you could, if someone among you can locate objects or scry, there are my two sons' belongings upstairs. I will show you to their rooms.
And,
And she,
and do you have pictures? Because Dirk can make like a minor illusion to copy the pictures once he knows what they look like.
all the way around. There's basically this particular small sitting room has dozens of small pictures of the family, and it basically embraces the portraiture all the way around the room. So they're sort of like a pair of like cherubic looking kids, maybe no more than 10 or 11 at this point, probably 11 or 12 because this has been a year. or so, and sort of curly blonde hair, rosy cheeks. It's like highly bobbed ears. We're talking since they are high elves, their ears like stick up almost over their head.
Lady Emma, do you want to show her the necklace that you have, or do you want to hold that back for now?
Lady Emma Lady Emma looks really suspicious of the woman, but she takes out the locket and places it in front of her.
All right. So the lady of the house suddenly grabs Emma's hands, both of her hands in her own hands, and basically turns basically. So I need an athletics check at this point, Lady Emma. Is that as you can tell that she's trying to turn your hand's palm up at this point, as if she's trying to read something about the bottom of your hand, the palms of your hands. You're not quite sure what.
I got a 16.
You rip your hands away from out of her, somewhat strong but like unsteady grasp. It's like as there's this sort of like faint reaction. There's sort of this faint glowy reaction from where she touched your hands, essentially, as you notice, basically, the lady of the house's lips become narrow and thin. It's just like.
Lady Emma's gonna start to back away from her.
We found this at the Davenport's lair. Is there something significant about this we should know?
My husband gave me this locket when we were betrothed, and then I think it went missing. I think one of my sons essentially took a fancy to it and carried it with him. I appreciate you returning this to me. As she sort of pointedly looks at Lady Emma and basically slides the locket back across the table and basically clasps it around her neck. Says, well, let us go see my son's room at this point. Perhaps you can find further clues to where they may be found there. And
Okay.
unfortunately, I must cut our time with each other short. I am, as you see, not in good health. As she sort of like walks unsteadily up a sort of steep set of stairs, she guides you up to a room that is apparent, obviously, for two children. There's a toy chest and lots of sort of bed clothing, and as well as sort of nobles, like small person's doublets, essentially children's garb, like Edwardian children's garb. As well as robes and leggings that would be probably befitting of an elvish court than a human one. So there's both sorts of clothing here. Their favorite toys are those that she sort of points to what appears to be a boat and a teddy bear over there. This would be their favorite clothing. Mr. Mack, I'm sure you can find their scent here.
Mm-hmm. I will take a solid 30 seconds. Just can match the scent in the room.
Significantly different than scent you encounter. This one is older, like a half old. It's not significantly different than the scent you encountered inside the Cult of Hermes lair.
It's noteworthy, but there is an obvious difference because it's been a year and a half.
Yes. So, other than sort of being weak and faint here, essentially it smells identical. So they definitely have the right people, at least the right scent. All right.
I can confidently say...
Take any of these items with you on the off chance you need them for scrying later on?
Just something simple, like one of the doublets.
All right. Grab one of the doublets. Dirk basically picks some hairs off of the beds that might be useful as direct material components in scrying and locate object or locate person. Which reminds essentially Dirk and Lady Emma, you probably need to go buy that spell at some point.
Either that or get the priest to help us with it, right?
Or get a priest to help you, but in practical terms, essentially, whether or not you can grab one of the priests to hunt around with you is a good question. Okay, so the lady of the house, like gently reminds you, it's like, unfortunately, I ask you, if you are done here, basically, I must ask you to leave. I must retire at this point. I grow tired.
Yes. Thank you. We'll do our best to find them. It was
This door shuts gently behind you with a slight click, and you have some belongings that belong to Marcus and Aurelius at this point.
Mm-hmm. So, Lady Emma, it looked odd what she was trying to do with your hands. Do you have any idea what that was all about?
Are you all right?
Lady Emma's gonna sort of look at them and look uncomfortable, but she's gonna stay quiet.
Okay.
Hmm. Well, all right then.
All right, so this is probably a good time to break as any. So you have some clues as to the two Draconis siblings at this point. The house at the beer hall essentially, so you could try to pick up the Davenport's trail from there,
Mm-hmm.
or basically scrying or looking out to try to find the children. So
Right.
And we're level 6 now, right?
you are level 6, yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Lawrence, my train of thought here is that if this family is like an old heir of Tirn Nog, they might be able to like at least point me in the right direction, if not outright help me like learn more of my barbarian powers, which other than just angry is like definitely more like spiritual and nature themed, which obviously is not in London.
So we're just going to say your barbarian powers come from basically that you have the spirit of the beast in you or something.
That's exactly it, but just like I don't know. I don't like my character knows next to nothing about it because he was just a soldier. So like, I don't know. I guess this family could like lead me.
Yeah,
to at least
absolutely. So
learning more about it.
basically they are old blood essentially.
Yeah. So they could like point me in the right direction at least.
Okay, great.
So we have corpses showing up in the road. The horses are rotting. These boys might, because of their blood, they might be used as some sort of a protection ritual or something that the Davenports are using to keep themselves safe, and that was why they were sleeping in the room with the coffins, maybe. So all of those are
Like the old magic flows within their veins.
Yeah. Oh, and Lawrence, the reason I make a point about this is because the barbarian I'm choosing is ancestral guardian.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's like ghost wolves. Anyway, just wanted to leave that little tidbit with you so you could mull it over for next week and yada yada yada.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
All right.
Good session. Good session. I had fun.
I did too. Thank you, Lawrence. And
Yeah, that's
Lady Emma,
great.
we were so glad to have you. And I know you've got some things the next couple of weeks. We'll try not to die.
Yeah, don't die.
We'll see. We'll try.
I
We'll
will
do our
be back.
best. We bought more healing spells, and we'll see you when you get back.
All right.
Good.
All right. Good time, Lady Emma.
Good night,
All right.
Krishana. Night,
Good night.
Mack. Night, Lady Emma.
Y'all take care. Thank you.
Night, guys.
night.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Okay.